I have a question about Judgment Day and like towards the end. So me and my best friend talked about this. So when people stand before Jesus, some of the people, he's going to say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." But in response to that, they're going to say, "Lord, did we not cast out demons or do these miracles and everything?" But only believers, and we talked about how you can't lose your salvation, which I do agree. But how are, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, only a believer can speak in tongues and have the gifts. Like non-believers can't do that. And if you can't lose your salvation, how are these people going like to hell? Because Jesus said, "I never knew you," which
Well,
means that they were never
they were
saved.
never saved, pulled away
Yeah.
if you don't pay attention. And how do you distinguish between them? Well, what are they teaching? If you look at a lying sign and wonder, it's not going to teach the truth, it's going to teach error.
Hey guys, so there is this video of Frank Turek. Is an amazing evangelist. Is an amazing televangelist. I've seen so many of his videos going on campus, and going on campus is really talking about Jesus, and it's amazing. He's really been able to reach and connect to the younger generation. But there is this video where I feel like he doesn't do the video justice. For the sake of context, the young man asking this question is talking about Matthew chapter 7 from verse 21 to 23 thereabout. And he's talking about when Jesus says, excuse me, not everyone who says unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Right? So now Jesus mentions a particular phrase. The phrase is, he would say unto the servants, "Depart from me, for I knew you not." Now, many people read this from a Western perspective. They don't read this from a Hebrew perspective, meaning we have the wrong understanding of this verse. It's anachronistic when the way we analyze the discussion is very, very anachronistic. What do I mean? I mean, we are looking at things from the context of today, from the context of we know who Jesus is and all of that. Now imagine you are talking to a prophet and he's talking about on Judgment Day, he's going to tell you, "Depart from me." That is, and he's mortal like you. It brings up questions. Right? Like he shouldn't say this. No one is going to tell you on Judgment Day, I will be the reason why you are here or you are there. Except he's trying to say something deeper than that. Now, the particular phrase Jesus uses here has occurred in the Bible at least 2 times before. And this particular phrase is exclusive. God uses this phrase when talking to the prophets. God used this phrase when talking to Moses. He said, "For I know you." When talking to Moses, Moses was pleading with the Lord. Moses was telling the Lord he's not going to go into the wilderness. He's not going to continue into the wilderness without the presence of God accompanying him. And God said, "Don't worry, I'm going to send you an angel." Moses said, "No, I don't want an angel. I want you." And it's a really fascinating chapter of the Bible, the dialogue between God and Moses. It's a really peculiar parallel because we see in the garden, man made a mistake. Man chose the enemy. Man chose self, right? Man chose the advice of the enemy, right? And man departed from the presence of the Lord, right? But in the wilderness, we see man choosing God, seeking again the presence of the Lord that was lost. And this is a prelude to the Ark of Covenant, right? So it's an old teaching on why we need the presence of the Lord, on what is the presence of the Lord, right? So it will help us understand the Ark. It will help us understand so many different things. So now that aside, what was that? Yeah. So God uses this phrase when speaking to Moses. It says, and it literally phrasing it in modern language. God told Moses, no problem. He would For I know you. God uses this phrase when speaking to Moses. For I know you. Again, when speaking to Abraham, God uses this phrase when it comes time to give him a seed. God uses this phrase again. For I know you, or for I know him. Now, what God is talking about is a peculiar attachment, a peculiar level of intimacy, right? A peculiar level of obedience from the person listening to the Lord and the Lord communicating with the person. So we see something here that Jesus is painting out. We need to think, what would a first century Jew think? What is in their mind when Jesus is saying this? What are they thinking about when Jesus is saying, literally, depart from me, for I know you not? That phrase is a peculiar phrase that they should understand. And it's also a phrase, it's also a scenario that raises questions. Why would Jesus be on a platform on Judgment Day at all? So he's presenting himself as someone who is not only teaching us, but someone who is also going to judge us. It's a really fascinating conversation in Matthew chapter 7 from verse 21 to, I believe, 24, 25. Depart from me, for you workers of iniquity, for I know you not. How do you know people even beyond your time after you are dead? Or how do you know people who have died before you? He is speaking as one who is in authority or in a place of judgment when it comes to the kingdom. So it's a very peculiar conversation. But many times when people think about the verse, they think about the verse from a perspective of the person is not saved. You are wrong if you think this verse is talking about the person not being saved. It's not a complete answer. Why? Because sinner's prayer is not what saves you. A genuine relationship with Jesus is what saves you. Gifts, speaking in tongues, going to the prison, giving people money, paying tithes, is not what saves you. Going to church, singing in church is not what saves you. What saves you is a genuine relationship with Jesus. That is what really saves you. So this is what Jesus is saying here. And a genuine relationship with Jesus will be evident by the things you do. Your obedience to Jesus is proof that you have a genuine relationship with him. Because remember, the relationship that made the Lord echo, for I know you, is a relationship of master and loving servant that is obedient. It's a relationship between God and Moses. While Moses was 100% obedient, leading the people of Israel from captivity into the promised land. And the Bible said there was none on the face of the earth more humble than Moses. Right? So we see this as a parallel to what God is actually teaching. Right? So, also in the life of Abraham, Abraham's devotion and obedience to the Lord is what made the Lord say, for I know him. Why? Because Abraham is obedient and Abraham is willing to teach his children, even to teach his children the ways of the Lord. Now, why is Jesus talking about him having servants that he is not intimate with? There are servants that are not willing to do what he's asking them. So there is no intimacy. Although they claim to be servants, although they walk around posing to be servants, there is no genuine intimacy between Jesus and that servant. So this verse or this chapter of the Bible is talking about your relationship, what really saves you, what really makes a person be saved, what really judges if a person is saved or not saved is your intimacy with the Lord. Your intimacy with the Lord is what actually is what sits. Is what actually judges, is what weighs, is what lets us know Are you a genuine believer or are you not a genuine believer? There's no way you have heard the call of repentance. There's no way you've heard the call of servanthood. There's no way you've heard, all these things and you are not obedient to him and you are not following him and you claim to be his servant. So that's really what this chapter of the Bible is talking about. So I hope this really, I hope this helps. I hope this explains. I hope this brings clarity. I just wanted to shed some light because many times when people look at that verse, we see that verse from a sense of maybe some people see it from a Calvinistic view, meaning these people can't be saved, these people can't be helped. You bring them into the church, they verbalize the sinner's prayer, but their heart is not. It doesn't reflect in their heart. By a distance, that is true. But this is not talking about election. This verse is talking about action, not election. It's talking about obedience. Workers of iniquity, they that do the will of my Father. It's talking about your responsibility, not God's responsibility in election. It's talking about your responsibility in obedience. And we see this in Ephesians chapter 2 from verse 8 to 10. That in chapter 10 lets us know that the Lord has already set us apart for good works on earth. Verse 8 and 9 makes us understand that we are saved by grace through faith. Or we are saved by faith through grace, however you want to, twist it, right? Because that's how we are saved, right? But the main issue in this text is more about action and obedience. It's more about your responsibility. It's not so much about God's responsibility in election. It's more about how you are playing an active role in following Jesus by being a good servant, by obeying his commands and all of that. This is what the text of scripture is really talking about. So I hope this blesses you, and I'm going to catch you guys in another video.
Truth, it's going to teach error. It's going to be associated with immorality, not morality. It's going to bring glory to the person rather than to God. One of the problems we have in American Christianity is we're more focused on the miracle than the miracle worker.
Yeah.
We want all these signs and wonders to wow ourselves, forgetting that they're signs. They're pointing to something else. They're pointing to God. So we've got to make sure our focus is on God, not the sign God sends.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying that because I do agree, yes, Satan can work miracles. Like he can.
He has limits. Like he can't raise the dead. If he could raise the dead, then the resurrection could be a hoax.
Right. Like he only counterfeits what God.
Yes, counterfeit miracles.
Okay, so you're saying that they could be doing it under like demonically, like the people that Jesus.
Sure, there's demonic forces out there. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
By the way, I haven't checked into this, but I want to ask you guys. So, I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Does anyone in here know who Mike Winger is? Okay, the Bible thinker guy is a friend of mine. Do you know he's doing a expose on certain so-called Christian leaders like Todd White? I don't know anything about Todd White. I wouldn't know if I fell over him. But he is exposing, apparently, again, I haven't seen it yet. I don't know, maybe some of you have. He's exposing what he thinks is false teaching. Can there be false teachers? Of course there can. And if he is a false teacher, he ought to be exposed. I don't know. I don't know anything about him. But you might want to look into Bible Thinker's YouTube channel.